Yesterday we learned about the adjective phrase and how it works within a sentence. Today we're going to talk about the adverb phrase. If you remember when we talked about the 8 parts of speech and we talked about an adverb, we said that adverbs modify verbs, adjectives, or other adverbs. An adverb phrase does the same thing. It's a prepositional phrase that modifies either a verb, an adjective, or an adverb, kind of working the same way that an adverb would. So along those same lines, an adverb phrase tells us the same thing that an adverb does. It tells us how, when, where, why, or to what extent. So let's take a look at some examples here. Brittany answered with a smile. With the smile is a prepositional phrase that's acting as an adverb because it's telling us how she answered. So it modifies answered. It modifies the verb there. They sailed across the lake. Across the lake is a prepositional phrase that's acting as an adverb, telling us where they sailed. So that's why it's an adverb phrase. And last but not least, the calculations erred by more than 2 inches. By more than 2 inches is a prepositional phrase acting as an adverb again because it's telling us to what extent the calculations erred. So all of these modify the verb in the sentence. But remember, I mentioned up here that it can also modify an adjective or an adverb. So let's take a look at some examples that do that. Melissa is good at tennis, but better at volleyball. At tennis is a prepositional phrase that's telling us what Melissa's good at. So it's modifying the adjective good. At volleyball is modifying the adjective better. It's giving us a little more information about what she's better at. So those are adverb phrases that modify the adjectives in the sentence. And then we also have, is the water warm enough for swimming? For swimming is an adverb phrase that's modifying enough. To what extent is it enough? It's enough for swimming. It's enough for swimming. So this phrase is telling us to what extent, and therefore it's an adverb phrase. When you are using adjective phrases, they almost always come after the words that they modify. We talked about that in the last lesson. But an adverb phrase can kind of move all over the sentence. There are lots of different places where it'll make sense. So let's take a look at the same adverb phrase moving around a couple of different sentences. So here we have, before noon the race started. Before noon is an adverb phrase because it's telling us when the race started. And here it's starting our sentence. But we could also move it to the end of our sentence. The race started before noon, and that sounds absolutely fine as well. So the location doesn't really matter as much when it comes to an adverb phrase, but adjective phrases almost always follow the words they modify. So just kind of keep that in mind as you're going through this and trying to identify them, and also when you use them in your own writing. Like adjective phrases, adverb phrases can also modify the same word that another adverb phrase is modifying. So if we look at this last sentence here, during summers, my older sister works at the museum. During summers is an adverb phrase that's telling us when she works. And then at the museum is also an adverb phrase, but it's telling us where she works. So both of these adverb phrases modify the word works. They just tell us different things. During the summers tells us when, and at the museum tells us where. But they are both doing the same job. Hopefully this clears up adverb phrases for you. There is an assignment that follows once you've viewed this video. Good luck.